The blast at this oil pipeline in Mexico last week killed almost 100 people. Many of the victims' families are still searching for the remains of their loved ones.
It's disheartening not knowing anything about your relative and having no news about him. We looked in hospitals by name, but nothing. Yesterday, we went to the public ministry to post our sign. From there, we went to a funeral home to see if we'd recognize the body, but nothing. There's no news and no hope.
A network of oil pipelines operated by the state-owned energy company Pemex is spread over much of the country. The infrastructure is old and gangs are known to use illegal taps to steal from it. Before the explosion, one such tap burst. Many people from around the area came to fill up because there's a fuel shortage ever since President Andrés Manuel López Obrador ordered a crackdown on illicit fuel last December. He's still not backing down, but says his government will spend more on social programs so people don't need to steal fuel.
We don't want this to continue to happen. We will end this illegal and perverse practice. No Mexican will need to take part in these activities because they will now have work and well-being and support from the government. Fuel theft is over.
His government setting aside $200 million to boost Mexico's poorest regions. It will go towards providing loans to small businesses, a youth employment scheme and pensions. The government says its plans will help around 1.7 million people. Some say these initiatives could stop people from resorting to fuel theft.
We have a lot of problems. We need education, we need financial support for the elderly, and I think the president is addressing these issues.
The government wants to use fuel tankers to replace some of its ageing infrastructure, but they are also susceptible to theft and damage as seen in other countries. Last June, an oil tanker explosion in Pakistan killed 140 people. And the gangs operating illegal taps allegedly work with local authorities and people desperate to make ends meet. Breaking that cycle could cause more pain for some of Mexico's poorest before the country can completely end fuel theft and the poverty that drives it. Jacob Brown, TRT World.
Well, let's get more on this now from TRT World's editor-at-large, Craig Copetas, who joins us now from Paris. Hi, Craig. We know successive Mexican governments have essentially turned a blind eye to corruption and poverty in their countries, problems that are so widespread across Mexico. Are we hearing a different tune in the wake of this latest tragedy?
Well, you are in this case, because President López Obrador has said that he's admitted that the public, the people are compelled to participate in such events, such as taking free gasoline. And they're compelled by the poverty and unemployment of past government policies. He's the first president to actually come out and admit that. And this is all engendered by more than a dozen cartels that roam Mexico with names like La Familia, Juarez, Los Zetas. And then that is undergirded by a fact that the Mexican government just released 48 hours ago. 2018 showed the highest number of murders in Mexico in their recorded history, 91 deaths a day. So that is another political obstacle he has here is the cartels.
Yes, and what would you say is the greatest challenge that's facing this new president, López Obrador?
He has a balancing act, Oscar. He's got to be tough on crime and corruption, but he's got to, lift the poor and the marginalized out of poverty. And too often in Mexico, the marginalized and the crime families are like this because it's a symbiotic relationship. So what we saw with this pipeline explosion, this tragedy, it symbolized more than the need to update infrastructure, but the need to update and modernize, if not change society from a root and branch perspective.
And we're seeing more and more reports emerge of alleged links between government officials and these criminal cartels that you mentioned. I'm wondering, do you think the cartels will continue to fight efforts against corruption?
I think they will. They're too well funded. They're too well armed. The narcotics business makes too much money. There is a big difference here, however. All hope is not lost. It's a grim report out of Hidalgo. The government, the president, has refused to implicate the victims in what happened at the pipeline, you know, and that's a big thing. So if he can come in and somehow give more to them while taking out the cartels, it might help. But I'll tell you, Oscar, I've spent a lot of time down there. Those cartels have more money and more weapons than I think anyone might really imagine.
It is such an endemic and entrenched problem. Craig Copetas in Paris, thank you for that.